Welcome to Under the Rug at Work, where I shine light on problems that are normally swept under the rug. Today, I'm chatting with Saranne Segal about power struggles. Saranne is a workplace investigator, mediator, conflict resolution coach, lawyer, and the founder of Segal Conflict Solutions. Thanks so much for joining me, Saranne.
Pleasure, Nicole. Lovely to be here.
So, Saranne, your work focuses on mediating conflict and issues. It's a tough job, but a lot of organizations need help to navigate these issues and help to resolve them. Can you tell us, what does mediation involve?
So mediation essentially is bringing the two parties or whoever's in conflict with each other into a room with the assistance of a neutral third party who is a mediator to help them discuss and reach resolution on issues that they are experiencing at work. It's really to help them try and restore their working relationship. And unfortunately, I mean, what you said, Nicole, is that yes, there is a lot of conflict in organizations, but sometimes people don't realize, or organizations don't realize, that it's always best to nip it in the bud. So when it breaks out, bring in the mediator then and there. Don't wait for it to, reach epic proportions. That's really what my advice would be. And also to bring in someone external to the organization. A lot of the times I find HR managers, they try. I mean, and you can understand it because, as part of their job is to try and resolve disputes between two employees. But sometimes, employees are very distrustful and they feel it would be better handled if it was, if given to someone to help outside of the organization. So that's just really what my experience is.
And sometimes they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like they could have a relationship with a particular person because they've been working together for a really long time, or they might be in a management position and it may feel like they're taking sides. So yeah, I'd agree. Definitely get someone neutral like yourself and definitely do it earlier rather than later. I mean, you and I have found in our businesses that a lot of these things, a lot of conflict, a lot of bullying starts off as miscommunications and misunderstanding.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. And yes, and people are, we come into work, we're working with these people that we really don't know from a bar of soap sometimes. And we may have different values and different personalities, and we just react to different people in different ways. So we may not get along with everyone at work, and that is absolutely fine. But it's when it reaches, when it starts, you mentioned bullying or just little conflicts or interpersonal conflicts that somehow seem to escalate, and then they permeate throughout the team and then throughout the organization. So just, yes, to nip it in the bud is the best way possible.
Yeah, these things, you just can't sweep them under the rug because
no.
They become mountains, and you see that, you live this day in and day out, which is wonderful to have someone like you working to support organizations and individuals with conflict and chatting about power struggles today. So what are you seeing in business when it comes to power struggles?
Well, it's a very common situation, and the last few mediations that I've done have actually been about power struggles. And it could be, power struggles are caused for a variety of reasons. It can be just, two people in a team that are butting heads and they're trying to be top dog maybe in the group. And when strong personalities clash, and they may find it difficult to take orders from someone more senior. And also generally I find when roles are blurred, when there are not specific job descriptions, generally I find also that can be a major cause of a power struggle, because people aren't really sure about what they should be doing. They do something that someone else thinks, is part of their job description, and it just causes all sorts of things, and it just causes butting, the butting of heads. And I'm generally called in to try and help resolve it.
Yeah, so definitely role clarity is a major reason for conflict. Are there any other red flags that people that are listening should watch out for, or any other reasons that power struggles begin?
Absolutely. There's several indicators that can signal the presence of a power struggle. Increased tension between team members, heightened competition for recognition or credit, a lack of cooperation maybe, or communication breakdowns. I also find, generally speaking, what is quite common is for managers or leaders to play favorites in organizations. And I mean, you don't typically think of, I mean, when you think of favoritism, you think of maybe a parent favoring one child over another or something, but it's very common to find that some employees are not getting the recognition or feedback for their job that they should be getting. And this causes a lot of tension. So generally speaking, yes. So there are several signs that you have to look out for. I had a recent mediation where the CEO and the COO were butting heads, and this really was as a direct result. And they actually acknowledged it was because they didn't have clear job descriptions, and the COO, who was responsible for operational decisions, was going into the realm of the CEO, and it was causing all sorts of friction and tension. And at the end of the day, it was really, you know, we had a mediation. We actually had 2 mediations, in fact, and it was really about the COO being fearful of if those jobs or those things that he was doing would be taken away from him. He was worried that he would lose credibility with the rest of the staff. So we had to address those concerns and really understand what his needs were from the CEO, which we discussed and we talked about, and he felt much better when he understood that she wasn't trying to take credibility away from him. She wasn't trying to make him look bad in front of the staff. So that was the major reason why he kept going after what she was meant to be doing. So I think sometimes just a simple conversation can go a long way to understand the needs of the parties. What are they actually? Why is there friction? What is causing the tension? And really, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. It's communication, and it's having a conversation.
Yeah, and having you there as a third party allows that information to come out, so they can put it on the table and say, well, this is the reason that I'm behaving this way, that I'm communicating this way. There's always reasons behind behaviors. So being able to get to the bottom of that and understand it in a safe environment, which I think that's exactly what you create.
People are just not interested in having that discussion, and that's another topic for another day. But generally speaking, people, they sometimes don't know how they're coming across or what they're doing is outside the realm of what they should be doing. And it's just, yes, having a discussion.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone who might be in a power struggle right now?
You've got to focus on your priority and your goals, and instead of focusing on a win at all costs sort of perspective, you should prioritize the bigger picture and say, well, what is good for the organization? And that is with the mediation that I was talking about previously. That's exactly what I questioned them. I said, is this tension that, you're showing your staff that the top levels of the organization are basically at crisis point. You can't even communicate without having conflict. What is this doing for the organization as a whole? What are you showing your staff? And they realized the damage they were doing. So you've got to question, what are your motivations? It's not about the organization. It's like when you are going through a divorce and the husband and wife are fighting. You've got to focus on the best interests of the children because you're doing such damage to the children. It's the same thing. What are you doing to the organization? Their productivity, just morale, their employee engagement. There's so many issues to consider. So I think that is a question that we have to come back to. What is the bigger picture?
And what's the worst that would happen if you just let it go? Exhausting.
Exhausting, it's emotionally draining, it's all those things. And yes, let it go. And it's you're not going to lose your dignity. You're actually going to be the bigger person. That is what you have to understand. It's not about losing the respect of anyone. It's about being a big.
Yeah, and I heard a brilliant quote from Storm McGrath at a culture summit recently.
Yeah.
And he said, the more power you give away, the more powerful you are.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to be one of those people who he is quite powerful. He's the CEO of an organization, and yeah, he's obviously done a lot of things and come up with that quote because that's what he has seen and perceived. And you have seen that so often with your clients, the success of being able to come together, put it on the table, just have a non-confrontational discussion and get to the bottom of it so it stops festering.
Takes a lot of self-awareness also sometimes to really think about what your actions are doing to contribute to the problem. And sometimes it can be really confronting as well to actually recognize that you are part of the problem. But yeah, seriously, these things are resolvable if you're willing to address the issues, you're willing to talk about them. Absolutely.
And just one final question that I think everyone will be really interested to hear. What are some of the benefits that you're seeing for organizations and for individuals when they are able to come together in mediation and resolve the conflict? What are they saying? What are you hearing?
People are, I mean, I've got a mediation now where, the woman has been on stress leave for a couple of months already because she can't face coming into the office. So it's just, it's unburdening yourself, and it's actually making you be, you can face coming to the organization again. You can, talk to your colleagues, you can be open, and it's just a normal workday life, because when you have conflict with someone, you don't realize it. It's really, I mean, it's as destructive as anything can be. It's affecting your whole psyche. It's affecting, the way you communicate with people. Often people who are in conflict are hiding in their offices. They don't want to go and talk to their co-workers. They don't want to join in for a lunch or an after work drinks or whatever it may be. It's really, it impacts people. It impacts their mental health. I mean, you're the expert on that topic. So it just unburdens someone, and it just means that you can get on with doing your job and being psychologically healthy and getting on with it.
Takes a huge weight off your shoulders. I know. Yeah.
And you know how destructive it can be. And I mean, it's an awful thing when it's happening to someone and they just can't see a way out of it. So I always say, if you can't talk to the first step is always, before mediation, I guess, is to speak to, if you can speak, and if it's safe to do so, speak to that person, see if you can resolve it. But if it is, a bigger issue and you need help, then, ask for that help. Get in a mediator, or, speak to your HR person and get them to help you resolve.
And sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, I feel like something's off between us. I'd love to have a chat because I want to get back to a good working relationship, or to a really good working relationship. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, who can say, no, I don't want that either?
Exactly. The other person exactly is probably in the same situation, and they're thinking, what is going on here? So just to have that initial conversation before it all blows up is the best advice I can give. And just thrash it out. I know it's uncomfortable, but just try and discuss it and see what is going on. Sometimes, that other person may say, you know what, you walked past me last week and you didn't greet me. It could be a very simple issue that somehow just keeps blowing out of proportion. It keeps escalating. Yeah. I mean, I had two highly achieving executives who I had a mediation with, and their issue started. They had a great relationship. Issue started when one person, one of the women, sent an email to the other late at night, because at 9:30 or 10 p.m. and she didn't like the tone of the email. She said, why is she sending me stuff? It's very disrespectful to send me emails so late at night. And so from that, it just escalated to a point where they weren't talking to each other, and they had to have a mediation to resolve the issues. I'm just saying, it starts off very small.
Yeah.
It just escalates.
Yeah, and we are talking about, talking to someone that you are in conflict with, which can be, as you said, very confrontational and quite intimidating. So I would highly recommend, if anyone needs support with mediation or conflict at work, to reach out to you, because you are a safe space and you have been doing it for, is it 20 years or more?
Very long time.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to call in an external person if possible.
Yeah. And Saranne, you're on LinkedIn, and also your website is segalconflictsolutions.com.au, which I will add to the show notes. But just want to close by saying thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you chatting about a tough topic.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, Nicole. It's always good to see you. And thanks for spending some time with me talking about this.
Thanks, Saranne.
Bye.